Thank you, faculty, who asked me to come in. I love talking with your students naturally, or whether it be faculty at academic council or senior managers. But this is really special because we now have an opportunity to bring, an even better opportunity to bring together our senior managers and our faculty. And you've been hearing from your deans or from the vice presidents how in the next year that's one of our themes. And really one of the things we want to do more is bring everybody into the conversation so that we understand what's happening in the classroom and we can share it more readily, externally, and so that we have an even greater excitement and appreciation of what we do. You've heard me say this so many times, but I'm going to say it every time we meet from now on, and I ask you to do the same, is just really reflect on what we have here that really is so special. And I think the camaraderie of the group and the collaboration is it. And it is what is already moving us forward. We've always had that at Robert Morris, but I have felt in the last year it's been just, I don't know, 10 times better. And it's a really great feeling. One of the positive things right now is that we can bring everybody together in one room like this. So let's use it to our advantage. You know, in my days as a campus director, 4 hours south, and you know, we would come up every quarter as we still do, right, Mary, for the curriculum meetings. And I always used to say to faculty, I'm sure you do great things inside those meetings, but even if you're not sure about that, the time that we have in the car together is really worthwhile too. And I hope you feel the same way. You just enjoy your time with each other. And I enjoy it. So thanks for inviting me. Well, I guess you didn't invite me. I just put myself on. Anyway, it's always fun. I want to share some things with you today about this fall and how it compares to last fall in terms of student retention. And I've done this with you versus the provost and now as your president for probably, I don't know, the last 15 years or so. Really looked at who was here last fall, did they come back, and what made the difference really? What are some demographic differences and what can we learn from that? And then naturally now, how does that information feed into our current long-range plan and our plans for the future? But feel free to ask any questions. Since I'm the first on the agenda this afternoon, you know, feel free to ask me and maybe you'll get out of some of that other stuff you'll do after I leave, but we'll see. But you'll see what I put on this first slide I really believe is experience-based education and working with the students and allowing them to experience, you know, the culture of Chicago, the city that you're in. Naturally, our experience-based learning really does translate into better retention, which is better graduation. But it's not about the numbers. I have all kinds of numbers. You guys know I'm kind of a numbers freak. I love that. I measure everything. But the numbers are people. The numbers are students who now can get better jobs because they graduate with a Robert Morris University degree. Or they can go to graduate school. So they're able then to really give back to the city of Chicago or the city in which they live. Always figure you have to start everything with a quote, right? And this was one that I kind of liked. Never really thought I would quote Keats, but anyway, nothing ever becomes real till it's experienced. That second part I really don't understand, but one of you can explain it to me. But you know, sometimes I get, no one really says this to me, who do we think we are? But sometimes I get that look from people, especially people externally. When they say, tell me about Robert Morris, and I do, and I talk about our national recognitions, I talk about our students, I talk about our long-range plan right now, which is taking what we've done very, very well and really just making it 10 times even better. And I kind of get that look like, really? Like, kind of like, why do you think you can do it better than anybody else? And I know faculty, last time you met, the prior curriculum day, you saw some advertisements that some of our competitors are using, and the group shared that with the senior managers this morning. And so I think we know, right? Who do we think we are? We know who we are. We are uniquely positioned. We always have been. And that hasn't changed, it's only gotten stronger. And I believe we're uniquely positioned because of where we are, where each of our campuses is located, and the access we have to do this experience-based learning thing even better. We have the right programs. We talked about that this morning when we looked at default rate on student loans. Part of the reason our default rate is extremely low is students graduate and they can get good jobs with the degrees that they have, right? We have the right programs. We have just a phenomenal planning process. I can't take credit for creating it, but I can take credit for working through it and making it happen. And we do an even better job of that. You have to in this day and age. But most of all, we have the people. And those are the people sitting in this room. And it's also the people who report to you in each of our departments. We talked a little bit this morning in our senior manager meeting about what our people need from us. And the fact that right now they need even more than they ever have are one-on-one conversations with them. Are catching them doing things right, which faculty you do every day for your students because you know that's how to get the best outcomes, is catching them doing things right. But we have great people. We have people who are tied into what we do. And again, collaboration, cooperation. And this happens to be a faculty, I think, at our first curriculum day this year. And I'm sure Vern is saying something really important. I don't know who is that person, but boy,
I don't know.
I wish I knew what you were sharing there. But anyway, it doesn't end with faculty. Again, the collaboration in the room. I have just never felt so cool about being able to talk with anybody and say, hey, can you help us out in this committee? Can you work on this project for us? And I always get a yes. So then you say, okay, what good is this to us? And what can we learn from our past? I really just wanted to use this old picture. I think that might be Mary Winghoff, but I'm not sure. I don't think it is, really. Just thought that was funny. You know why I know it's not Mary Winghoff? Oh, Mary, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be picking on you. But she knows why I know it's not. Because there are gentlemen in the picture. And when Mary and I were students, they were out of Lawrence. There weren't any men. Anyway, so it was, I don't know when that was probably early 80s. I just like the picture. But what can we learn? Well, I'm here to share with you some things that happened in the last year that are being defined in terms of student retention from fall to fall that I know are embedded in the way we do things and the way we've really exploded this experience-based learning that we do at Robert Morris University. I have 3 years here, institutional retention, and again, these are just a lot of statistics, but it's really about the students. So I'll translate this into some numbers every once in a while. We have 3 years on here, undergraduate from fall to fall. Now let me explain that in just a nutshell here. What I like to do is go back a year ago and say who was sitting in the seats last fall. Did they graduate? Great, take them off. They don't count against us. That's a good thing, right? But if they didn't graduate of that group, who's here this fall? Students, yes, take the summer off. Fine, we won't count that against them in terms of this. Did they come back? I believe that's the best indicator. We measure retention in all kinds of different ways. But I don't think for us I don't think the best measure anymore is leaving Q3 and moving into Q4 when we know, for example, our athletes, we need them to take off the summer or they don't play for us 4 years, and that's a misuse of our scholarship dollars, right? So, and other things too. So anyway, when we look at that, what we see, this is so, you guys, this is huge. I was actually talking with a friend of mine who's a former provost last night. I don't know why I felt the need to say she's 10 years older than I am, but anyway, in my head. But when I was sharing this with her, she was astounded. She said, Maybelline, 1 percentage point is good. I'm like, yeah, we did that last year, but the last 2 years, it's 4%. You've done this. And what we've done with how we determine the best fit for this student while we recruit them, the way we recruit our students is part of it, what we help them experience when they visit us, what we do at orientations, what they do every day in your classrooms and outside your classrooms that pertain to the classes. And then also that student support structure. That is everything from athletics, if they happen to be an athlete, to the newspaper, if they want to do that, or to many of the extracurricular activities that are run through our student center. It all really plays a part. But look at this, undergraduate. So 2 years ago, what was 65.89%. We improved it by 4 percentage points in 2 years. That's phenomenal. I was really encouraged this fall to fall here to see an increase of 1% because 3% in 1 year, which we had the year before, that's really good, okay? So it was very encouraging to me. And I'm going to break it down for you a little bit. We don't look at graduate school in the same way because those programs are built to allow the students to come in and out. But since we're measuring, we might as well throw it up there, right? And especially since you have an increase, it's kind of fun to see. And I just like to use this pointer. This, I know, is your favorite slide because you always ask me how's my campus doing, although I think some faculty have 5 campuses that they adopt. But I have this listed this year from top to, not at the top, in terms of 2016%. Give you a minute to look at that. Now again, what this means is that in Elgin, 92.86% of the students who were here last fall who did not graduate are back in class this fall. Is that phenomenal or not? And I've heard that some of these students carpool to Orland to take accounting classes.
They don't decide.
What?
I'm teaching outside of this quarter.
Yeah.
They don't decide.
They don't miss. Awesome.
They don't.
Awesome. Now we can say, okay, it's just a special group, and they are a special group. They all come from kind of the same community, that sort of thing. But it's also what you're doing with them. It's also what you're doing with them. Because we know a couple things, right? We know students won't come back if it's too easy. We've proven that, unfortunately, in the past. And we know that they come back because they want to be part of that group, but they also want to see what you're doing every day in class. That's phenomenal. But when you look at some of the other increases, it's very encouraging too. Springfield, last year they had a great increase. This past year slipped a little bit, but still 3 percentage points above 2 years ago. Lake County, yeah, look at that. Really cool. And let's look at Chicago. Although we don't like being towards the bottom, right? Because this is where the majority of our students are naturally. 6 percentage point increases in 2 years. It's very affirming for some of the particular things we've been able to do at this campus because we have large numbers of students in terms of staffing and what we're doing. Very, very encouraging. And now with the Title III grant, which will help all of us. And I know you know about that grant, but let me state very briefly. That grant was written for the Chicago campus. It needed to be because of the statistics that we can show. But remember that anything we do in Chicago is going to help everybody else. And there are many things we can put in place that you don't have to use the resources as long as they're helping the Chicago freshman group. If it helps everybody else, that's cool too. Okay? So just something to keep in mind. Any comments, questions about this? They give me a limited time and then they come with the hook, so I have to I took out 3 slides last night. But I also want to say, I have this data broken down so many different ways. If anybody just loves it and wants to personally go through the data with me and you want more than I'm sharing with you here, be happy to do it. It's really cool stuff. Always like to look at what programs have the best success. What do you think? The top 2, nursing and surgical technology? Not surprised by me, Sims?
Because they have criteria that they have to meet to get in.
They do.
And if they don't get certain grades, they can't stay.
That's right. So you're right, nursing and surgical tech have an elevated admissions criteria. Nursing has one that's higher than surgical technology. But what's cool about this to me is that this same slide, I've been doing this for 15 years, right? This same slide 5 years ago where it was nursing was down here. So that's everything, looking at everything. The curriculum, how faculty are working with the students, the resources we have for them, and yes, the admissions criteria too. But keep in mind too, you might say, well, of course nursing's high because that's a BSN. So those are different kinds of students. Not this group. This group that we measured aren't those BSN kids. Well, a piece of them is, but it's not the whole group. Okay? Now, everything else is in between, and you can get that data from your manager. The senior managers all have access to retention data every quarter, so by program, you can see what that looks like. And the lowest, anything here you'd like to mention? Yeah, what is it? That might be more recent. No. What is it? What's ID?
Interior design.
Graphic design.
Yeah. Yeah. Good, I don't know. Well, pharmacy tech has been down there for the longest time. And when you look at some things like that, what you do see is a correlation between level of program length and desirability of it too. Pharmacy tech is also a very, very small program. So a few kids leaving destroys your percent. Things like that. Anyway, and then you see the graduate high and low, which is kind of cool to look at. Love looking at this. This is like my favorite chart. So if you were in my class and we had a quiz next week, I would say, if you don't remember anything else, okay? But this is really cool. So when we take out and look at it by students who are athletes or performers, and then those who are not, keeping in mind those who are not may be involved in other things, of course. But looking at that, historically, we've seen that our athletes do graduate at a higher rate. Their retention is higher. Slipped a little bit, but that's really not a very big dip there. But to me, the coolest thing in this whole, and everything I looked at was this. The students who didn't have that coach on their back, right? Who were concerned about being eligible to play next week. That's actually where we increased the most over the last years. 8 percentage points. That is phenomenal. That doesn't just happen. One of my favorite sayings right now is hope is not a strategy. We did not just hope it would get better. It was all the things we've all been working on to make sure that this was possible for our students. Okay? And, you know, I know you spent all day, this day and many other days, looking at what you're doing in the classroom in experience-based teaching and learning. That's where this impacts. The athletes are probably going to stay like athletes are going to stay, right? All of them, some are going to leave, some are going to stay. But quite frankly, it may not be as much up to you as it is their coach and their team. Let's just be honest, right? But the ones who aren't involved in that are the ones that we've seen the greater increase. And I just think that's really cool, and it's because of the work that you're doing. So remember that, I'm just so excited. We were talking about this morning, right? Transfer students. This has changed over time. It's been fascinating to watch. Our retention rate with transfer students is actually higher than non-transfer. And it has been for probably 5 years. It hasn't always been. A couple reasons for that, I think. You tell me the transfer students are very happy because they've been elsewhere, and they're very happy with what we offer them. And that's true. Another reason, quite frankly, and this is just a factor of the numbers, transfer students usually aren't freshmen. Who do we lose the most of? Freshmen. Okay. But when we were talking about this senior manager meeting this morning, let's not say, oh my gosh, let's just get all students that look like this, right? Because then you have Governor State, junior, senior, graduate school, right? I mean, that's not who we are. It's not who we're meant to be. So really focusing on this group will become even more important. This should not be surprising, but I'll give you a minute to just look at it a little bit. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, graduate school. And allow me to remind you, if we look specifically at seniors and juniors, now we know this to be true, right? That the opportunity is here with freshmen. But when you look at this, I mean, what, 90, 89%, that's like, no one does it. That's really phenomenal. Now, well, some people do it, but, you know, the more selective the institution, the better the retention rate. Let's just face it. Okay? But when we look at this, and we look at last year, this was a year that we held the students much more accountable for financial aid. Much more accountable. You may not know, well, you probably do know that because they complain to you. But we held the students more accountable to making sure they were up to speed on where they needed to be with their payments. And we knew we were taking a risk, didn't we, Lee? But we felt we could do it because of the value that they have. And plus, you know this too. We didn't want to get the students so far behind. And we felt we had done that a little bit for good reason when the economy was particularly bad. We allowed them to get a little farther behind their payments. But then when they leave, they can never come back because they owe too much. We held them more accountable, and we had better retention. It says something. Now, sophomore, 76%, not too bad. Freshman, look at that. Freshman doesn't necessarily mean no transfer credit, right? It means up to 48 hours as freshman. But that's still the opportunity. Let's look at that. Let me share a couple of other numbers with you. I shared this morning with the senior managers, but you'll have to listen to me again. You can just say rerun, but you can't change the channel. Anyway, last fall quarter, a year ago now, at the end of fall, we lost over 100 students that was their first quarter with us. Over 100, I think it was 113. And that's normal. I mean, it wasn't a worse, in fact, it was a little better fall than some. 113. That's a lot. Total students who withdrew in fall last year, either during fall or most of them at the end of fall, 331. So that's an opportunity for us. Because we know the best thing for every student is to stay enrolled and earn a degree, right? We know that. So the opportunity is there. It's about, you know, again, early indicators, That there's a chance we take, you know, to this day, everything you read about retention says students make up their mind in the first 3 weeks whether or not they're going to stay. They may not tell you until they have to register or until they don't show up at the beginning of the next quarter. Those first 3 weeks have passed, but from what I heard from every faculty member in this room that I talked with about it, is that they were in class, they were engaged, and I know you were doing phenomenal things. One of the most fun things I do every day is read those postings in the Army comments, and I hope each of you do that. You all have access now, right? You can give everybody access. It is so cool. I just want to shout it from the rooftop. It's really cool. So this increase in 4% over the last 2 years, that's the outcome of the work you do, and again, it's not the number, it's the student. It's the 113. But we know we can do more. We want to make sure that every single freshman, if they leave, it's because it's the absolute best thing for them to do. That probably isn't the best thing for over 100 of them, right? We want to make sure that for the 330, that if they have to leave, it's the best thing for them, and it probably isn't. So we have a challenge ahead of us, but I have never felt better about this group and the people who report to you. So let me know how I can be of assistance. I'd be happy to visit a classroom anytime. It's so fun for me. And or your staff and faculty meetings. Let me know how I can help. You do great work. Thank you. Oh, wait, I have to check this. You'll get this at home, right? Because you'll get one of our development pieces in a minute. But I just think this saying is something we need to put in our vocabularies. Experience makes experts, and experts make a difference. Our students will, but you already do, because you are this expert.